qué no me obedeció?
Es que obedecer por obedecer, así, sin pensarlo, eso solo lo hacen gentes como usted, capitán.
This is my review of Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is a strange and wonderful film. Unlike many works of science fiction, I was pleasantly surprised to find that this dark fantasy was set within our own world, in 1944's war-torn Spain. I found the dichotomy of supernatural elements and casual elements fascinating. However, I left the movie ignorant to the purpose of many of its motifs. The film eases into its implementation of supernatural elements with an ordinary insect, as not to overwhelm the audience's suspension of disbelief. After a few rounds of this being in the foreground of the shot incessantly chirping, it transforms into a traditional fairy tale to please Ophelia's admiration for, well, fairy tales. From this point forward, there are only a handful of additional mythical creatures introduced and a handful of settings. This rarity benefits the movie by making Ophelia's colorful hallucinations the exception rather than the rule. These creatures remain novel and horrifying to the audience, just like they would appear to a child, because we are given such a small glimpse into their behavior. You will notice that each of the fantastic settings that Ophelia visits is gated off by an area based in reality, such as a large tree stump or the remnants of a stone maze. Minor and vestigial details within these settings, like the pile of shoes and the tapestries in the Pale Man's lair, not only reflect his character, but it made it seem like a believable home instead of a plot device. The sound design of the creatures, from the creaking of Fawn to the crackling of the Pale Man, played a small but significant role in granting them authenticity. Vidal is arguably the main character of Pan's Labyrinth and thus worth mentioning. He's evil, but I enjoyed the fact that this evil was convincingly based in honor and testosterone rather than some cartoonish ideology. When he burns the cut on his face by drinking scotch before going back for a second glass, you know exactly what kind of man he is. It's no coincidence that the servant girl Mercedes was responsible for cutting down the traditional authoritative male figure, as I found this to be a subversion of the fairy tale Cinderella. The most striking element of cinematography in Pan's Labyrinth originated from its transitions. Blood appearing in Ophelia's book to finding her blood-stained mother in the other room, a jump cut from sawing a man's leg off to picking up a book, or the jolt to life of the Pale Man's fingers, all capable of making any watcher cringe in fear. There are a number of clever references veneered throughout Ophelia's fantasies that correspond to her tragic reality, including a nod to the Holocaust and her perceptions of Vidal. I've identified a strong visual focus on hands in general, however, I'm left questioning any semblance of meaning this had until my eventual second viewing. Pan's Labyrinth is the most interesting war film I have ever seen and dances with reality in a disturbing way until the very last scene, where the audience is left to decide what to believe. This movie's composition is unsettlingly realistic, and it is because of this that has remained in my thoughts constantly since my viewing, and will remain with me for some time to come. If you're interested in watching Pan's Labyrinth, it is currently available on Netflix, if you have the stomach for it. Thank you.